Hello! Let's talk a little bit more about authenticity. And today I want to talk about how we go about doing that as Christian women. 'Cause it's easy to talk about being authentic, but how do we actually implement that in our lives? Well, I'm going to give you 3 ways to do that. The first one is to be honest with yourself. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. If we're trying to convince ourselves and everybody around us that we've already lost the whole purpose of being authentic. We're not. We are works in progress, aren't we? So the first step is to just be honest about that. And in being honest with yourself about your imperfections, that leads into the second point, which is to be open about it. Two people first that you need to be open with about your imperfections: God and yourself. Talk to God about those imperfections, all the ways that you know that you're not being genuine, that what you're saying to the world, to yourself, doesn't actually match up or align with what you're doing. That means you have to take a hard look at those things about yourself. And that's challenging. I think sometimes that we as women, we don't stop and do that enough. I think we avoid doing that because it's painful, it's unpleasant. Maybe we don't take the time. Maybe we feel like we're too busy to stop and have moments of self-reflection. But it really is necessary and certainly essential if you're going to be authentic. So in being honest to God, you are telling him what he already knows about you. He knows these things. But in building a relationship with him, you are being transparent and being open and being genuine with God. You're saying, I have flaws. You know it. I know it. Here are my flaws. Help me with these flaws. Again, that requires you to spend some active time really thinking about those things. And then you also want to be open with others. Now, this is a tricky one because I'm certainly not saying that you should just go out and tell the whole world everything that you've ever done that was hypocritical. But there are people in your life that you are close to who truly love you and care about you, and they're going to love and care about you even if they know some of the ways that you've slipped up. In fact, you know people who are predisposed to wanting to sympathize and believe in you and care about you. Now, I'm not talking about just only talking to people who are going to cast everything you've done in a good light, or sympathize with you when you don't need sympathy, or agree with you in ways that they shouldn't agree. We need friends who can call us out on things. We need friends who can be honest with us and care enough about us to help us see things from a better perspective. That's partly why you want to open up to those people, because they love you, but they aren't going to necessarily, hopefully, agree with everything that you're doing. And you need to hear that. You need to hear their words of not just encouragement, but their words of wisdom, their words of constructive feedback in your life. So step one is to be honest to God and be honest to yourself, and then open up and talk to God about those things, and then to open up and share those things with the right people. And finally, the third thing is to really analyze your actions when it comes to being authentic versus hypocritical. There are ways that we sometimes, how do I say this? There are ways that I think sometimes we allow the hypocrisy that is in our lives to kind of fester. We might lie to ourselves. We might tell ourselves that things are okay, or we might justify things that we're doing that we shouldn't be justifying. We might be lying to other people by omission, by out and out lying, by only giving partial information. We might be covering our tracks. We might have done something or be in the midst of doing something and trying to hide those behaviors because we don't want to be found out or caught. And then we also might be withdrawing from our relationships, the people that we know would call us out on doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. So analyze your actions by seeing whether or not you're lying to yourself or other people, whether you're covering your tracks on things that you know you shouldn't be doing, and whether you're withdrawing from people that you know will call you out on those things. If you do those three things, if you're honest, if you open up, and if you analyze your actions, you will be able to live with more authenticity. You will be able to spot the hypocrisy in your life, and you will be able to change that behavior and live according to the way that God wants you to live.